Hey, what's up guys? My name is Kyle and I am a knife maker, leather worker and general fine craftsman in Newfoundland, Canada. Today we have a very cool new sharpening device, and we've had lots of really cool pieces of sharpening gear on this channel. But today we have a really cool piece of sharpening equipment that is a guided sharpening system from TSPROF. I'm sure lots of you have heard of it. It's a guided system, like I said, multi-grit stones. It's a stone-based product, but a guided system. Let's take a close look here. So from what I can gather, this would be considered the base model. They have a couple different models that come with different features. And you can see something or some similarities to what I've shown on my channel for the last good many years now, and that is the Edge Pro system. It works in a similar type way that you might have seen on the very low end of the spectrum, like the Lansky system, the basic Lansky system that you can get for like 30 or 40 bucks, or you could, I'm not sure what it would be now. But it's this guided, see we have the guide rod here, this guided stone system that allows us to sharpen our edged goodies. So what do we have here in the base level kit? So for starters, of course, we have the main unit. We have 3 stones, a fine, medium, and extra coarse. We have an adjustment tool, which is very important for this system, as we'll see in a minute. Permanent marker for setting up your guides. Some alcohol wipes for cleaning. Some extra screws, because everything works on tension here, so you can't lose these or the system is useless to you. Or, of course, you can replace them. A little collet with an O-ring here, with a bumper stop for the sliding mechanism. And our book here, which you might have noticed on the box a minute ago that it's in Russian writing. Don't worry, there is English in this. Now, while we're on the topic of that book, I'll just mention right quick, I am not an instructions reading guy. I usually don't open these books. I throw them right in the trash. I'm too stubborn for that. Might be a little bit of pride mixed in there. But you're going to want to check out the book, keep the book and open it for this one, because one thing I'll comment on right off the bat is that this system is not entirely intuitive. There are some things you need to learn about how the device works here. I'll do my best to teach you in this video. Now, since we just gave it a little knock for not being intuitive, I'll give it 1 point up. The machining on this unit is just, I mean, it is just beautiful. The amount of components here, which could be worrisome over time if you're losing parts or considering grit and different things like that mixed in here. I'm not sure if that's a problem. I don't think it's going to be, but you don't know. But the machining on this thing is just gorgeous. All the aluminum, I'm assuming it's aluminum. Yeah, it wouldn't be like a stainless steel or nothing. It's got to be aluminum. But all the components together and the tolerances are just so tight, and the way it works, or like the way the joints and pivots and dials work, is just beautiful. So we'll give them that. So this little rod here, just like all of our guided systems that we've seen so far, has a little kind of a dovetail grab design. Very simple, with a spring back here against the handle. And this is just, we just pull that back and seat our stone in there. It works well, although a little bit tricky to grab on. It would have been cool if this has like a little T-prong or something. But very nice, very nice. Works nice and simple. So let's start getting into the features on how this works. We have blade pinchers right here, and here's where this tool comes in. Your blade goes in, and we pinch these down, and our knife stays in there, which this is probably my favorite part of the system. This flips, and watch this. This is pretty cool. See this little lever here? You push this forward, and it's spring tension, okay? Once we pull this forward, this dovetail joint unlocks, and this is free spooling. So then you can let it go. You see how that works? So if you want to flip your knife, you do that without unscrewing it. So once you get it set up, it's pretty cool. You can just flip your knife around and work both edges. Now this big dial staring you in the face right here is your angle adjustment. Right here on this side we have an unlock lever. So we loosen that, and when we turn this dial, it allows us to pivot right here. And if you can see right in here, we have little pictures of different styles of knives and markings. You see a little cleaver there, a little slicer, chopping knife there, all the way up to our finest blade, little picture there. And they are degree markings. Although they're not numbered, I wish they were numbered. There's just kind of a graduated picture marking. I believe it runs from 13 to 30 degrees you can technically get out of this system. You can see that this would be really thick there. But once you find your spot, you just tighten this down, you lock it, and then you can't turn this dial anymore. If we go back over to this side, we have a dial right here. And this is the adjustment for our thickness of abrasive, independent of our sharpening angle. So while we're sharpening, this might be one of the most useful features of this system. While we're sharpening, if we switch from this abrasive stone here to one that is thicker, of course there's going to be a degree angle change, not necessarily a degree in terms of calculations, a measurement degree, but there's going to be an angle change just by how it's going to step up off of your blade. This has markings here, number markings for millimeters, and you just run that by mils thickness. So these, the ones that came with the TSPROF system, are roughly 4 mils thick, so we just adjust this to 4 mils and it accounts for it. If you throw in a stone that's 7 mils there, we'll just dial up to 7 mils, and we can do that while we're sharpening. It's pretty quick to switch back and forth. So let's run through it here. We have one of my own custom, my own kitchen knife that I use every day that I made myself. We're going to sharpen it here today. What we're going to do is gauge what thickness of stones we have. We have 4 mil stones, so we're going to dial up to 4 mils. We have half mil degree markings there. We're going to clip in our stone that we want, slide it into the base. Now this will be a first here right now. We have to mount our blades, so we're going to put it between the pinchers, tighten these down. These are spring steel, so they're shape holding. So there's no springs or anything in there. They just open and close on their own tension. So we're in there pretty snug now. If we want to switch, we'll have to go to that side and it locks back in. And that's pretty cool. Isn't that cool? Definitely like that. I tried to set it up so my blade is mostly orthogonal to the unit. At this point we're going to add our O-ring and our locking collet because we don't want our hand to slide into our blades. So we'll snug that down. We're just going to adjust it so we can use most of our stone but not let our hand get too close to that blade. So lock that down nice. Everything's pretty snug here. Now we're going to adjust our angle. Make sure you've adjusted for your stone thickness. Let's go up to not the thinnest. I would say 15 degrees. And they gave us our marker. Chisel tip, that's nice, allows you to do a good job there. I'm going to try the extra coarse, even though that's really coarse. Inspect. How they go a little bit steeper to 16 degrees. Ouch! Okay, nothing's stopping us. I gotta remember that. We don't have another collet on the back here. Ideally you'd want another collet. See how I just pulled right off, and then when I came in I jammed that into my edge. Okay, let's remember that. This hasn't been sharpened in a while, so we'll say that we needed that extra coarse. And reprofile, we're setting up our fresh edge for the first time. Another mild con I have with it that I'm seeing here is that this unit sticking out so far is a little flimsy. With a deeper blade like this, by the time we get to the edge, we are getting a little flex. So if we're putting a little bit of weight into it, we're ever so slightly changing that angle. So it's going to create a very slight convexing. Our stop block down here is doing a great job. If I didn't have that, I would have my hands cut by now. Let's do a quick burr check on the other side. There in a couple spots, not there in other spots. Give it a little more time. It does want to, I am holding the base here with the other hand, because to put any weight on it, it is tipping forward. You almost want a couple screw holes. Even if it had I might drill a couple holes here, just so I can tack it to my workbench when I'm sharpening. That might be an idea. Let's do our stone change from our extra coarse to our medium. That went smoother that time. Now that we have our burr, did it again. Is there something I'm not doing right? Is there supposed to be another collet? Maybe that collet is supposed to be on the outside, but then nothing's stopping my hand from driving into the blade. We need another one of these for outside. What is happening is I'm pulling off the end, and then I'm jabbing this assembly here into my edge. So I just sort of definitely did some damage to my edge there. See if we can work that out. These diamonds cut really quickly. Now, just like I would finish on my whetstones, I'm doing some cutting only just to help with burr management. See there, see that what I did with the system then? I threw it downwards. And I don't feel like I'm using a whole lot of weight. Ouch! Well, that was stupid. I haven't done one of those in a while. It sort of comes down, and it's not at all the fault of the system, but it sort of comes down for me. I'm used to my blades always down into the stone, always down on the flat, never up like that. So just not thinking, your edge is pointing at you, and if you're working here on the bench, you know, I just went to brush some of the filings off. I have a Wild Medkits bleed kit. They're a sponsor of the show, and no, I did not just dice myself so I could advertise a Wild Medkits product. Ouch! That one smirks. They're off that diamond stone. That is a very, even with just starting on the fine, so we're at the medium, a very toothy edge. So as it's, sorry to be graphic, you can skip ahead here if you want a few seconds, but you can feel it biting the flesh. It's not, it's very different from a polished edge. A mirror polished edge is very slick. You almost, I've cut myself with polished edges and not realized I'd done it just because there's no friction, there's no grab, nothing. But that type of edge, this toothy edge here, would be preferable for, say, like a butcher. It's cutting a lot of meat, a lot of flesh, muscle, fat. That slightly toothy edge really cuts through that material well. Give me a nice little bite there. Well, I got the blood to clot. We won't be, shouldn't be worrying about any stitches tonight. That'll be okay. Carelessness, working a little too fast. Let it be a lesson, a reminder to you guys who might get in the same state, just working fast, just blazing through, hands going. Sometimes you just gotta slow down. I remember on my first job, my very first job site, I went work in construction. I was on an asphalt crew, and the superintendent came along. Got out of his big fancy truck, said hello to me, and he asked me if I could do something. Could you run over there and grab a rake or something? Maybe we were starting off a pad, and I took off running. And he says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" He says, "Come back here for a second." So I came back, and he leaned in. The machines are running. He said, "You don't get paid enough to be running around here." He said, "Slow down." And it was a safety concern, right? Even though I thought it was impressive. Look at me, I'm willing to skip, to run up the road to get that rake faster for you. For them, it was seen as, this guy's getting a little ahead of himself, a little too crazy. Let's slow him down before we have a liability or something like that here. Nice tight Band-Aid. Good to go. Okay, let's get back to that fine stone there. Lightening up pressure. I'm trying to manage it just as I would wet stones. A little bit cognizant, a little bit more cognizant now of the fact that that edge is staring me right in the face. Let's slow down a little, huh? No big rush here. Getting down, having a close look at my edge. This being a new stone, I want to watch what it's doing. And that is about our finest edge right there with that stone. Now what I'm going to do, and the book doesn't say to do this, but it's something that I want to do. I'm going to loosen that lock dial, increase our angle ever so slightly, and do a couple cutting passes. Just the finest little micro bevel. Just to make sure no burr is off on there. And to harden up our edge. Because that's one of the things that's a little bit hard to do with a fixed system like this, is working properly with the burr. These guided systems, they do produce a really heavy burr because it's such a fix. It's so perfect. That toothy edge feels so ridiculous. I'm not sure what the grit ratings are on these stones. It doesn't say. It says fine, medium, extra coarse. That's what I have here. The fine looks maybe to me like a 1000. I could easily get that good of edge on my 1000 Shapton glass. So I'm just comparing it to the scratch pattern. I'm looking for the coarseness of striations, and that's how I'm gauging here. And 1000 is a very grabby edge, and that being chalked in there and having a perfect angle, that is just has so much bite to it there now. Let's try a little bit of plastic there. It's pretty flimsy, of course. It wants to push away from my edge. Let's see if I can hold it a little better here. Let's head to the Russian section of our book here, so we don't lose our English notes that we'll need. The sharp edge. Grabby. The grit of the stone we have, and just the way diamonds tend to give a harsh cut. So grabby edge. So what are my thoughts on the TSPROF Blitz? And this is the standard model, so I can only speak to the standard model, of course. The pros. It is a beautifully designed machine. At least the machine work is just gorgeous. The tolerances are so tight. It's a very impressive looking machine. Another pro is that you can clamp your knife in there, and as you saw, you don't have to take it out again. You can flip it back and forth. You can work each side, which some systems aren't like that. I think the most ridiculous one I've seen, although people argue that it works well, is I believe it's called the Wicked Edge. You know, where you have the two stones on either side. You're working at your edges face up, about to run into your face there. And you're working both sides with each hand. That's the most ridiculous one I've seen. But this is actually a really nice system, the way it flips. I like it. Another pro is how it has the adjustment built in to account for your thickness in stone. I love that it allows you, like I said, to account for different abrasive thicknesses. So they mention right in their book that you can use another company's stones. You can get the Edge Pro stones and put in there if you want, and you can account for the difference in thickness right with the dial that's with real world markings. It's measured in 1/2 mil increments. So that is really nice. Now the cons, while we're on stones, are the stones. If you've known me or been watching the channel for a long time, you know that I have a strong distaste for those diamond plated or coated stones like that. I really don't like them. Even with the length of time that I spent on working on them there then, you can notice a severe degradation in the grit, which is something that I've said, and I don't know why so many people don't agree with me. I've had a lot of the DMT cards and stones and all that stuff, and they come with a beautiful crispy grit and a couple passes with a knife, and it seems like you carve the little diamond particles off of the plate. I much prefer, if you're going to do diamond, like Edge Pro did, like a diamond matrix, where you actually have a matrix, a compound with diamond so you can still reveal new cutting particle. I would prefer that. I don't like, not gone on the stones here. The other con with this system is that I cut myself. No. The other con is maybe it's a little bit springy out on the front end, and the way the weight is set forward when you're sharpening. You want a way to mount it to the bench, or you have to hold it with your other hand, which is not a big deal. That's certainly not a deal breaker. All in all, this is a beautiful system. I like it, but it does have some drawbacks for me. You can make the decision yourself. I hope I've provided enough details, enough information in this video so that you can make that decision for yourself if this is a system that's for you. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Leave me a comment down below. If it's your first time here, subscribe to my channel and check out all my other sharpening content. I have a ton of it there. Thanks for watching.